Hey guys, welcome back to Disney Coffee and Book Talk. Today is chapter 14 of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone that we are annotating. We are going to be taking a few weeks break from the Harry Potter series at the end of November. We'll do 3 weeks, and then in December we're going to start book 2. We're going to slowly go through that. Some of the other videos that I will be posting on Sunday, we're still annotating, so don't get me wrong. They just might be longer because we're going to go through the entire book. I still recommend reading. I still recommend annotating, because even when like Harry Potter is a banned book, even though there's, problems that we're talking about, as an author, right, it's still important to study these things, right? Study what can't be, or what shouldn't be done, not necessarily what can't be done, and what can be done, right? So have a good basis. This also is about, you cannot separate the art from the artist. There are plenty of ways to still read HP without, a lot of us already owned it, or you could maybe find it at the Free Little Library. Maybe you borrow it from the library physically. Okay, I'm going to say physically, or you go to a used bookshop. That way the funds don't go to JK specifically. And I say that because if you haven't been following JK, let alone my entire series on this, because I have talked about it, the money that she makes then gets donated to harmful organizations against trans people. And the trans community is part of LGBTQ. They are the T in the LGBTQ, okay? You cannot have LGBTQ without the trans community. So let's just make that clear. So anyway, the past 2 weeks, as I'm filming this and uploading this, I did see a couple things. Number one was a Vancouver amusement park put on a Harry Potter themed event. There was an uproar from the LGBTQ community, very valid, and so they issued an apology. That is completely up to the amusement park to do. They're allowed to do that. That is their company. If they see that they are affecting a community, I think it's ethical, right, to do so. I would have hoped that they would not have put on a Harry Potter based event. Look, as much as I loved Harry Potter, grew up with it, and yes, you could say that about Disney too. There's some ethical things. Speak out against it, right? Support other things. That at bare minimum, an apology is like nothing. JK got very upset. She's, it's kind of interesting in my opinion that she is against the trio that helped her books be turned into movies that really brought in the stardom, with Rupert Grint, Daniel Radcliffe, and Emma Watson, right? The fact that these 3 individuals have completely separated themselves from JK and said, hey, we're not okay with all this. First of all, I applaud them. Second of all, I find it interesting that they never truly put her down. And yes, we can absolutely have those conversations, like, should they not? I mean, you can say props or do certain places. That doesn't negate the negativity, right? Even with Emma Watson in a more recent interview, she didn't even really put J.K. Rowling down. But J.K., anytime she can, will say some of the nastiest things about these 3. So, yeah. I also am very disappointed in Tom Felton for turning away from the trio, especially when he is close to Emma, and to now start in this new Harry Potter show, whatever it's called. I don't care. Honestly, I'm kind of tuned out in it because, like I said, everything that she makes in royalties is going to go back to harmful organizations. She's admitted that to herself. She's admitted that, you know, if people still like her stuff, that they automatically agree with her. Now, I do know that a large amount of the community is absolutely against JK and have said that, you know, we may be a fandom, but we disavow the author. She no longer is part of it. The thing is that you're still putting money in her pocket. I know. The second thing that I want to talk about is, and I did, God, this is awful to say. So, trigger warning to eating disorders. When she was casting for Luna Lovegood, which will be in future movies, she had told Ivana Lynch, who ended up being casted, that if she was just skinnier, she would be perfect for the role. And Ivana Lynch has done interviews and talked about this, of how it really made her feel and how it caused her to have an eating disorder. Ivana Lynch was just a young girl who absolutely loved the series. And I absolutely love, first of all, I love the character. I know, okay, look. Here's a little bit of bias, okay? Not only do I love the character, but I love that Ivana Lynch really brought her to life. I don't think that her body weight should have been mentioned. First of all, should never be mentioned to a child, period. You're going to cause eating disorders. Whether they're going to eat more or eat less, it's a problem. We should never do that. Second of all, there's just, you know what, not even second of all, there's just too much. So you guys can go check out Ivana Lynch's interviews on this. She has spoken about it, but I did see that this popped up again, so I did want to mention it before we dive into chapter 14. Even though Luna is not in this book because she's a younger character, she's not there yet, I think it's still important to mention these things before we start annotating. Just so you know, yes, I make my coffee at home. That did not taste so good. That was from this morning. Anyway, let's get into it. Okay, so there were a few things about this chapter that I thought was interesting. First of all, I don't think that we truly catch this one line, no matter how many times I've read this book, but Hagrid did, I mean, okay, let me rephrase that. You catch the line, but you don't analyze it. Does that make sense? So Hagrid had let the Harry, Ron, and Hermione in that Snape was on the team of guarding the stone. He already had information. Now, they should have trusted that at that point that Snape was one of the good guys, okay? Even though he's grumpy and dark and whatever. The fact that Albus Dumbledore, who is one of the greatest wizards according to this wizarding world, allowed Snape in on this should have said enough. Just my opinion. And it was Quirrell who was trying to get the stone, and it was Snape who was catching on to Quirrell. Okay, so it was the way that they were seeing or especially Harry was seeing the point of view, because he was so biased against Snape, which I think makes sense in why they didn't think it through. And I will say that's a really good psychological point. And she did do well on that. Like I said, I will give her props where it's due, but overall. All right, second of all, Hagrid was targeted by Voldemort with the dragon egg. So when Hagrid was in town, right, in Hogsmeade, he had been targeted by someone that was either representing Voldemort or Voldemort adjacent with the dragon egg. And they had to have studied Hagrid to know that he was into weird things. So they got Hagrid talking, and Hagrid had let on, and by the way, this, oh, I didn't even write that down. By the way, now that I mention this, this brings me to book 2 because we'll see one of those pets that he had. But Hagrid had let on to the spider that we're going to see in book 2. He lets on about Fang. He lets on about Fluffy, the 3-headed dog. And so he gets this dragon egg, which is, what was it? A Hungarian, Norwegian, something, hornback, or whatever it was. I can't remember exactly what it was. Anyway, so he brings this dragon egg home, and this was how, sorry, let's go back. So he's in Hogsmeade, right? And he's being targeted, and he's talking about these animals, and he's talking about, you know, this whatever it was, whoever it was talking to him was asking questions about a 3-headed dog, right? Something that Hagrid has, Fluffy, and how it was to get the dog, like how is it to have a Cerebus, right? A 3-headed dog. And so it gets Hagrid talking, right? Everyone has one of those talking points, their passions. Mine is books, mine is Disney, mine is adoption, so forth, right? We all have our topics. So he gets Hagrid on this, and Hagrid lets things slip, which brings us to later chapters. But anyway, back to the dragon egg. So Hagrid brings home the dragon egg, and it turns out, like I was saying, that this dragon is a Norwegian, Hungarian, whatever it was. I can't remember at this point. So that was Norbert. So my question is this possible because Harry Potter and Ron, I think it was Ron, was able to get Norbert to Ron's family member, Charlie, his brother, who works with dragons? Is this the same dragon that he will face off in book 4? So we have these slow foreshadowing, right? We have these small references. We also have Cerebus, right? The 3-headed dog, which is known, if you know Greek mythology, is known to guard the underworld, right? And the Sorcerer's Stone is supposed to be something that creates you to be immortal. So you never go into hell, right? I guess it would be, or Hades, you know, Hades, underground, whatever, the underworld. And Cerebus is supposed to be guarding it. Well, this is kind of the same thing. They created a whole thing, right? So kind of a similar reference in the way that JK set it up. So it's still those small references that lead you. The question is, was there any bigotry involved in this chapter? I did not see any, but is it setting up for a bigotry moment? I think so. And we're going to see that in chapter 5, which we will do in our next video. So come back next Sunday. All right, see you guys then.